What if you boarded a plane and saw someone sitting in an empty seat during takeoff? Then they disappeared right before your eyes. A mysterious man wasn't on the passenger list, and no one on board had seen him. And even stranger, this particular seat was linked to a crash 30 years ago. Who was this passenger? And why did he only return at night? It was a quiet night flight, Flight 303 from London to Istanbul. The passengers were seated, the weather was fine, and the flight attendant announced the flight would take 3.5 hours. Nothing suggested that this night would be any different or terrifying. About an hour and a half passed. Most of the passengers had fallen asleep, and the atmosphere inside the plane was completely still. But in row 24, a crew member noticed something odd. Seat 24A, which had been completely empty upon takeoff. Now a man was sitting in it. A tall man, wearing a long gray coat and a black hat that partially covered his face. He wasn't moving, wasn't reading, and wasn't using any device. He just sat silently, staring at the seat in front of him. His eyes, it was later said, weren't entirely clear, as if a fog was obscuring his features. The flight attendant approached him quietly. "Good evening. May I see your boarding pass, just to confirm the seat number?" But the man didn't reply. He didn't move. He remained seated without any reaction. The flight attendant thought he might be asleep or suffering from a health problem. But then he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The man wasn't breathing. No chest movement, no blinking, no response. The flight attendant quickly returned to the passenger list and checked seat 24A. The result: the seat wasn't booked. No name was in that seat. No one was supposed to be sitting there. He went with his colleague to check, but the surprise was even greater. The seat was empty. Completely. No sign of anyone. The crew exchanged glances, and at first they thought the first flight attendant might have imagined it. But then, a passenger in the back seat raised her hand and said, in a frightened voice, "I saw him. I saw the man. He sat right in front of me." He was muttering something to himself. The flight attendant asked her, "Do you remember what he said?" She said, her voice trembling. "He said, 'This isn't my destination, but I can't get off anymore.'" A moment of heavy silence fell on the plane. Even the flight attendant began to feel nervous. Is he a ghost? Has someone somehow infiltrated the plane? Is there a rational explanation for what's happening? Upon arrival, the plane was temporarily isolated. The internal surveillance cameras were carefully examined. In one recording, the scene was clearly visible. At 1:43 a.m., the man suddenly sat in seat 24A. He didn't come in from the aisle. He didn't enter from the restroom. He just appeared. He sat for a full minute without moving, and then he disappeared. No sound, no movement, no departure. His body simply vanished, like smoke. The official report has not been made public, but leaks from a security. In 1996, a plane crashed into the Mediterranean Sea while en route to the same destination. A passenger was sitting in the same seat, 24A. The plane's wreckage was found weeks later, but his body was never recovered. Since then, there have been several reports of an unidentified man appearing in the same seat, always on night flights. Now, the flight crew refuses to operate Flight 303 after midnight. Even passengers have begun avoiding booking in row 24. Curiously, the electronic system often shows the seat as incorrect.